Hey, what's up, guys? This video is all about parallel compression or New York compression. And there's a lot of videos on how to do it, but this video is going to focus on why you should do it. And like, what's the use case? Like, okay, I know how to do this thing. Why should I do it? And I guess that kind of, it comes with experience. You can kind of figure out like what needs what as you adventure upon your music making adventure. And I'll just give you like a really good use case. One of the best examples is acoustic drums. So let's take a listen to this. Right, not a whole lot of compression there, but just listen to the body of the kick and the snare. Right, so the kick and the snare have this snappiness to it, but they're very kind of short. And the idea of using parallel compression is to still retain that kind of transient, punchy response, but then thicken up the sound. And I don't know, we kind of use words to describe things like that, like thickening, and I guess the term fat comes to mind as well, pH fat. So let's drop a compressor on here, and we'll bring down the attack just for the sake of example. And then I'll just bring the threshold down. All right, so that's some pretty hefty compression. Let's increase the ratio a bit. Right, so that snare is like whoosh, is like a kind of like a wall of sound with it. And that's all well and great, but we've lost the initial kind of punchiness of the sound here. So how would we mitigate that? We want the best of both worlds, and we can do that. And back when those those huge mixing consoles came about, you could route and do all these fancy things and like bus upon bus and like do some really crazy stuff. And we're gonna kind of do a similar thing here. So really easy. Well, you got the wet dry, but I don't really like to do that. It's not, well, I guess it works well, but it doesn't really work for me because I like a little bit more control in that. So I'm going to right click here, hit group, open up this list thing, and I can see all my chains. So this first chain would be, I guess, compressor. There you go. And then I'll just right click and then create a chain, and then this is the original. And I guess we'll call this dry. So how this typically works is you have your dry, and then you just kind of mix in your compressor. This video is going to evolve past typical kind of New York compression. We're going to get into more kind of parallel processing with I guess, New York compression aspect as well. But let's just do this for a quick little example. So we got our dry, which is our dry sound, punchy, all nice and neat. And I'm going to mix in the compressed version. Right, it's a little bit louder. So what I will do, I'll just add a utility just to bring that down, and I'm gonna roughly group these. Gonna match them. Yeah, so roughly they're around the same, I guess, perceived volume, and you can hear that there's, I guess, more beefiness to the track. Right? It's an extreme example, but it proves the point. So where do you go from here? Well, we are essentially unlimited with what we can do. So let's just get rid of that, and then I will duplicate this. Boom. So I duplicate this. This will be the compressor 2. And this was a very, I guess, common technique. You would have what happens when you compress is you compress all frequencies, and like some information is lost. And when I said you mix in the heavily compressed version with the dry version, you can also do some cool stuff with EQing to accentuate what you want to accentuate. So let's just solo that. Right, so I'll just kind of A-B these two. Right, just a little, well, just a little kind of bump. Well, not really little, it's 6 dB. This was done in mixing consoles as well, and then maybe even just like a little high shelf, just to add that back in. And then we can mix and match as we choose. Right? Doesn't that sound interesting? I find that to be, you know, very pleasing, and you can have as many compressors as you want, essentially running in parallel. You know, for those big sounds, they would have just like multiple tracks with things being processed in different ways. You could even, you know, if you were adventurous enough, you could pan these. But yeah, I guess the sky's the limit, essentially. Let's see. Yeah, that's basically it. So the use case would be to, I guess, add more beefiness, but still preserve the original characteristics of the transitory signal. And yeah, I hope that this has been illuminating for you. Hope you learned stuff. Take care and have a good one.